Welcome back, real estate rock stars. Here is what you can expect to learn in today's show. The number one biggest mistake you're making when it comes to your Instagram account, why no one's engaging with your content, insights on how to use ChatGPT for more than just the basics. Plus, if you stick around to the end, there's a completely unfiltered conversation between her and I about the struggles of what it's really like to be a business owner. And I went completely off-road with my normal questions and just asked her questions that I've never asked anyone before. And it was a super fun convo. So you probably know today's guest. She is the founder of our beloved Coffee and Contracts. You've probably seen her account on Instagram, or you've considered or are using her templates in your own business. But yeah, it's the place where you go for all of the super cute and hilarious real estate templates. Haley Ingram got her license in 2017, and she worked as an agent for a few years before realizing that she loved Canva more than real estate. So she started Coffee and Contracts in 2019 and became the go-to place for real estate agents to get templates, tools, tips, everything social media related. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Haley Ingram. All right, Haley, you have over 4 years experience of full-time working with real estate agents as essentially like their marketing director. So what do you wish that more agents understood about marketing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the biggest mistake that I see agents make is not knowing who they're talking to in their marketing and like not knowing their ideal client or their audience. So a lot of times agents will just post on social media just to post, and they'll just send out things just to send them out instead of thinking about like, who am I posting this for? And is this person going to get value out of this? So I would say that's probably like the biggest mistake that I see agents make is they're trying to attract everyone. So it ends up speaking to nobody.
To nobody. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So if I'm listening to this, I'm like, okay, how do I hone in on that ideal client, like on that target audience? Do you have any recommendations for like some tactical steps that they could take?
Yeah, I think when this question comes up, a lot of people are like, well, if I'm choosing an ideal client, why don't I choose like multimillionaires and billionaires? Because, the commission will be awesome. Yeah.
Sure.
But I think a lot of times an ideal client is often like, it's a lot to do with like yourself. So like a past version of yourself is often who your ideal client is. So if for me, I'm like, I was just a first time home buyer. I'm just like a single person, just bought my first home. If I was in real estate, my ideal client would probably be first time home buyers, maybe like single women, first time home buyers or something like that. I feel like we're in a better place to like serve people who are doing something that you've done before. So that is one strategy. But I also think if you like look at your clients that you've worked with and ask yourself like, which client did I love to work with? And I feel like I was the best fit as an agent for them. And that is who your ideal client should be. So like that could be, I think a lot of times it's like first time home buyers because that's just like, that's a good one. People love working with first time home buyers because it may be a little harder, but it's really rewarding.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, that too.
And comfortable.
Not scary. Working with someone who's like bought and sold a million times, it's like, they might know more than me.
That's
the first
true.
time you're like, I got this.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times people get really nervous talking about ideal clients because they're like, I don't want to like commit to this client the rest of my life. But I feel like it can totally change. And I feel like it does change as you change and your career evolves. Like, I feel like it can always change down the line. But when you're creating content, I think I try to look at it as like, if someone comes on your Instagram page, are they going to follow you because they see what you're posting and they see like, oh my gosh, this person is speaking to exactly the problems that I'm having. And like this content is valuable for me. I'm interested in it. I'm going to subscribe. Or is it just like not relevant to them? They have no idea like who you're even helping, you're just a real estate agent in general, like they're probably just going to go to the next page. So that's kind of how I try to look at it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the target audience thing, that is something that in my years of selling real estate, so I was an investor first, a real estate investor. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, of course, I want to share my story, which it was at the time like a lot to deal with investing. And therefore, mind-blowingly, the people who were attracted to me were real estate investors who wanted to do a similar strategy. And it was something that I never actually strategically considered at the time, that like the more I talk, the more I share, the more I go on podcasts that are about investing, that's the direct attention that I'm going to attract. And do I really want to work with investors, which there can be pros, but they're, in my market, it was like $40,000 houses. And then, 3% of that, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that this topic is not talked about enough, probably in the beginning, especially just like being aware that what you put into the universe will dictate the people that are attracted to you.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's a good point too. Like, I feel like the most engaging types of content are like storytelling posts, like a reel where you're telling a story about your experience, or where you're telling an experience about a client you've worked with, and not just like a generic graphic that's like 3 tips to staging your home. So, and I feel like that goes hand in hand with like, if you're telling stories from your experience as an investor, people who are interested in that are going to be interested in that content, obviously, but then also it's going to be really engaging content because you're telling a true story about something that you've been through, Yeah.
And that, it made it hard too, because I still wanted to share what I was going through. And so, but by sharing it, it was attracting the attention that at the time I didn't even know that I wanted. Now looking hindsight 2020, but I guess in that scenario, what advice would you give to someone who knows that their personal experience is not the type of person that they want to attract?
Ooh, that's interesting. So like, let's think of an example of that. Like if like divorce, I don't know, like what would be an example of that?
I feel we could just use me as an example. So like my experience was in real estate investing, but I didn't want to work with investors. But that's where my experience was. So in that case, is there like this moment of you have to, fake it till you make it till you become it? Or I don't know. What are your thoughts?
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like you could maybe put a spin on it and figure out like who your ideal client would be that's like adjacent to that. Like you can say, I've worked on the other side of this, like I was an investor. I've worked with investors. So like, if you think about that, like from the other side, so like for homeowners or something like that, if they're selling their home, like, like, I know how to market this to investors. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of like where that would be adjacent. Yeah.
Just put you on the spot, like totally off road.
No, it's good.
Okay. So you wish that more agents knew about, thinking through the strategy behind their target audience before just posting randomly. What other common mistakes do you see? Because all the time, like literally you're working with real estate agents all the time as essentially their marketing director. Is that correct? And so, yeah. Go on.
I think like there's a few mistakes that we'll see agents making on Instagram. A lot of the times, agents will come to us and say like, I'm just not getting any engagement on my posts. I think like that's one of the biggest things is like, I'm posting consistently and nobody is interacting with it. And I think it always comes down to like a number of things. One of them is obviously the ideal client thing. Another thing is a lot of times the content is just, it's not like very attention grabbing. We talk a lot about like hooks and grabbing the attention of the audience like immediately so they stay on your post. And there's a lot of different like tips and tricks that go into that depending on the types of posts. But I would say focusing on getting the attention of the audience right away, keeping them on your posts, because then the longer someone stays on your post and if they're interacting with it, then the more the algorithm on whatever platform it is going to push that out to other people like that person. So yeah, that's another one is just like, people not really focusing on grabbing attention in the beginning of a post.
Yeah. And even if the post does have really good content, if it's like substance to it, it's like if they're not the attention isn't grabbed, they'll never get there and they'll never know.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Question on what's working now, like in regard to hooks.
Honestly, I feel like my favorite hooks right now that have been working for me are controversial, like just using controversy as a hook. So like some of my top performing posts have been, and mine, obviously I'm not a real estate agent, so you kind of have to tweak this around to real estate. But some of my top performing posts have been like, nobody cares about your just sold. Like, and then it goes in to say like, you can still post that you just sold your listing, but just don't just do a graphic, do this instead. So we're like providing value, but kind of started it off with like someone's like, oh, I just posted it, just sold. And it gets like people commenting. There's a lot of controversy in the comments. I forget, I've done another one that was like, it said like, don't steal the real, something like that. Like it was just like kind of like calling someone out for something that they may be doing that isn't right, or just kind of like starting off on like a, like a spoiler alert or like hot take. Like I feel like those do really well. Usually it like grabs attention. Like, oh, what's the hot take?
Yeah. Well, the just sold one too. It's like most people are doing that.
Yeah.
Like everyone, so
there was some upset comments.
So hurt.
Yeah.
They just need to go reflect.
Yeah.
Well, which that sounds bad. The people listening, I'm sure your just sold posts are different.
Yeah.
And they are actually, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, it's funny because some people didn't read it because I was like, here's the good news. We're not going to get rid of the just sold post. We're just going to make it more relevant to everyone. So turn it into like a story that you're telling about the sale and, use it as a marketing tool instead of just throwing up a flyer that says just sold with like no context. It's like, nobody cares. And so a lot of people were like saying, I love to tell my just solds and tell the story. And I was like, I know, that's what I said.
Literally just said that.
Yeah.
Agreed. Same. Question though, okay, for the just solds, apparently we're going deep on that. Are you recommending, so there's like the very standard picture of the house with the just sold, like the flyer that you just mentioned, that's like a single post. Mm-hmm. But in your storytelling version, is that like a reel where the agent is sharing the story, or is it like a picture of the couple? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
What are your all of that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. There's a few different ways you can do it. I have seen, so like an easy way to do it, I'll say, I love carousel posts. Like, you make them in Canva and you swipe through the carousel posts. Like you can upload a like 1 to 10 graphics or 2 to 10 graphics. But I like to do or we have a template like this in our membership, but it's like basically starts off with a hook, like the one where everything almost fell apart. And then like the next page is like, you don't have to include the information about the clients if you don't want to. It can just tell like kind of like a story of the transaction. I feel like there's always something that happens in a transaction, even if it's just little, and just kind of share the story so that people can relate to it and be like, this would be me if I were to ever buy a house, or like kind of pull things that other people can relate to. And it could be like just a quick like swipe story with maybe like pictures of the house and then a call to action at the end to like schedule a buyer consultation if they want to. I've also seen people do like one idea that I really love, and I know it's like probably a lot of work, but to record like little clips throughout the transaction. Like it doesn't even have to include the client's face or anything, but like maybe you're meeting for coffee when you meet them and you get a little clip of the coffee, and then you go to the first house and you're like opening the door, and then you could create a reel like buy a house with me, or like walk through this transaction with me and kind of show the transaction from start to finish. One agent, you might have, I don't know if you've talked to her before, but her Instagram handle is Move Me to Tennessee. She works with us at Coffee and Contracts, but she has done a couple of reels like that. I think they're so cool. It like walks you through the process and in like a visual way. And I feel like it's a good way to celebrate your just sold.
And I mean, humans, we're all just so attracted to like a story. Mm-hmm. So it's like sharing that transaction. But also that's probably why those like Get Ready With Me and like A Day in the Life. It's like, wow, I had no idea I needed to watch this girl curl her hair.
I know,
but like,
it mesmerizes you. I've realized that too. That's one thing that we talk about some is like the hooks, the subconscious hooks, where if it's people on TikTok were putting on lip gloss while they were starting their video because it, like, if you're doing something, it's like, we just want to stay and watch you finish that task. Like, even if you're like making a coffee, you're just kind of like listening to them talk, watching them make the coffee, watching them clean their house. Like, I don't know why what's wrong with us?
At least it's all of us.
Yeah, I know. It's like, why is it mesmerizing? I've found myself on some TikTok videos where the comments are like, why did I watch this whole thing? And I'm like, same. I don't know.
Totally. Do you have any, so you mentioned like telling a story. You know, I'm going back to the Just Olds a little bit, telling a story. And I feel like this is something that we hear a lot, you know, tell a story, but the art of the storytelling is it's challenging. It's like, what makes a good story? What makes it interesting? So I don't know if this is at all in your forte, but like, do you have any tips on like how to tell an engaging story?
I do have a tip, but I feel like it's going to get us a little off topic, but bear with me. I feel like it could still be really useful.
Dude, let's do it.
I'm obsessed with ChatGPT. I will say, I'll be the first to admit. And I have this like technique for using ChatGPT that I'll share for this because it's super helpful. I feel like it can be difficult to use ChatGPT to create content. I feel like a lot of times you can just tell it's like a robot. But one thing that I really like to do is go to ChatGPT and say, pretend you are an expert copywriter or whatever, and say, I give it context, like I'm a real estate agent and I'm working on a post and talking about my transaction that I just went through, like give it a little bit of the details and then say, ask me 5 clarifying questions one by one to help me write this post. So you basically like have it interview you, and it helps to like pull the context out of you that's interesting from a storytelling perspective. So I like to do that because there's things about it that like the things about the transaction or experience that you may not think are relevant for the story, or you may just like not have, you know, the writing skills to do that. And it helps you to like pull out the content out of your head so that like and ask you the questions that are relevant to help you like create a post like that. So that's one little strategy, but I had to sneak ChatGPT in there. I love ChatGPT.
You had, dude. I mean, it's not off limits. First of all, there's nothing off limits. But okay, so that's really helpful because I found that one of the things that I dislike the most about ChatGPT is thinking of what do I need to tell? You know, like that, it's a whole process of like, oh my God, what are the things that I need to do? But it puts it back on them. Yeah. Tell me what you need.
Yeah. And you can even give it like the role of like, pretend like you're interviewing me for blank magazine about this sale that I just did. And then it'll like come from a perspective of like a journalist and pull the story out of you, you know, it's super interesting.
For your content, or for the content that you help with the real estate agents, how much of it is like the captions in particular written by ChatGPT? Because I have tried and I probably am just not doing it right. Yeah. But even when I give like guidance back where I'm like, hey, don't freaking use 700 emojis anymore. Like, please stop.
It loves or the words that are so
cheesy.
I know. It uses like specific words so much. I literally am keeping a list of them in my notes because I just think it's funny. Like it likes to use a word like dynamic, loves dynamic. I don't know why. But I would say, so I feel like I always talk about using ChatGPT, but I don't necessarily think I've ever like straight up copy and pasted exactly what ChatGPT has given me. A lot of times it's like it'll give me ideas to work with and to kind of like put into my own words. And so I feel like a lot of times in my content, at least, it's like mostly my words and then maybe like a sentence or two that was from ChatGPT to kind of like fill in the blanks. A lot of times I'm like writing my post in one tab and I have ChatGPT pulled up in the other. And like, as I get a writer's block, I'll copy what I have written so far and put it into ChatGPT and be like, help me finish this. And then sometimes it'll kind of help me formulate my thought and be like, yes, that's what I was trying to say. And then like bring that over, maybe tweak it up a little bit. I feel like it's like more of like a writing assistant than it is like a complete generator. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to just get it to give you exactly what you want.
Yeah. I was like, is it just me?
No.
Is it?
I feel like it's the worst. That's like the thing it's the worst at is creating content. It's really good at a lot of other things.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. What, brain dump the things that you use ChatGPT for? Everything.
My therapist. Just kidding. But really, no, I do use it as my therapist sometimes. I do use it for a lot of things. I use it for if I have an angry email that I'm about to fire off, I will put it into ChatGPT and help me sound more professional and not as emotional.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times, another thing I'll do is if I'm feeling really overwhelmed by like my, things that I need to do, I will like just brain dump like a kind of a stream of consciousness of what I need to get done and what's stressing me out and ask it and just be like, hey, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Here's like everything that's on my mind. Can you help me organize this? And you can even like say, today I have 9 to 12 available. What should I schedule into like my day to day and things like that. It can kind of help you with that. And content ideas. I mean, it can help you with like coming up with content ideas, all that kind of stuff. I've been using now you can like create your own GPTs. I don't know if you've heard about this. I mean, it's crazy. And I've been loving that. So I've been spending a lot of time like building my knowledge base. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's this section in ChatGPT where you can just click create my ChatGPT and you can have a conversation with ChatGPT and kind of build your own, and it'll remember all of this information that you give it. And you can also upload documents into it. So it like has this knowledge base to pull from. So I've been spending a lot of time like working on those and working on our knowledge base and even using ChatGPT to like help build that. That's been fun.
Yeah. And can't you like share them and sell them?
Yeah. I don't know how to like right now you can explore a ton of people's GPTs right there for free. I don't know how exactly to sell them yet, unless like you can have your own private link. So basically you could be like, have someone pay you to give them the link
on the back end. Yeah. Venmo me, bro.
Like, give me $5 and I'll send you this link.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was going to ask if you were like uploading, because, I went, and the poor listeners have heard me talk about Traffic and Conversion Summit so many freaking times, but I went to the Traffic and Conversion Summit back in January, and I got so much good information from like for YouTube specifically, but it was like, hook formulas and title formulas and like thumbnail, like what's working now. And of course it's going to change in 2 days, but I was like, what if I could upload all of that information into, the GPT, and then it could help me come up with, because I feel like you said it earlier, it's like you make or break whatever content you're putting out with that hook.
Yeah.
Like with the thumbnail, or cover photo, if we're talking Instagram, because you have such a short window to grab attention. And so what I have found is I spend so much time thinking about these, pieces. So I'm like, could I just have, I don't know. Now you're my therapist, Haley.
So I feel like, I have used ChatGPT to get more hook ideas, but the only way that I can get it to give me good hook ideas is if I give it a long list of hooks that I really like and say, create more like this. So like I said, like I really like the hooks right now that's like spoiler alert, hot take, like inside secret. Like I don't know what those like buzzwords do. I love them. But I had a list like that and was like, can you create more like this? And some of them were flops, but it did have some good ideas. And I feel like you just like add the good ideas to the list and you come back and you're like, okay, give me more like these. And I feel like maybe you could even have like your own, because there's no limit to the GPTs you can create. You could create a specifically like hook GPT and maybe upload like a big document that's like these are all good hooks. And I'll even like put the hooks into ChatGPT and be like, how would you define these hooks if you were going to create a GPT to create hooks like these? How would you define them? And then have it like, good. You know, write it for you.
Do the work.
Yeah. Do the work for me.
Please. Okay. So Haley, you've been in the marketing game with real estate agents in particular for years now. So how has your perspective, or I guess like foundational knowledge of marketing, evolved over time? What would you say, you know, from the beginning to where you are now, what has been that evolution?
I feel like in the beginning, things were just so different on social media in general. I think personally, I've had a big shift from in the beginning. This all kind of started because of my love for graphic design and Canva. I've always been very into drawing when I was young, and wanted to major in graphic design, but didn't for some reason. And then became a real estate agent and discovered Canva, and I could spend forever in Canva. Love it. Still love it. So in the beginning, this all kind of happened just because I loved Canva so much. And I was like creating all of these graphics. And back then, that's when Instagram, the pretty pictures and the pretty graphics worked really well, and you could get great results from that. So, so in the beginning, that was kind of like my main focus. And as I started Coffee and Contracts, we are like pretty much only way that we grew was through Instagram. So I learned how to use Instagram for that. But I mean, when I was an agent, I also had kind of figured out how to use it as an agent as well. So I feel like all that to say, it's kind of shifted from like more of the aesthetics and design to more of like the psychology of like grabbing someone's attention and keeping them, and like why certain things are working versus why things aren't working, and kind of like experimenting with that. And now I'm just finding myself super interested in just like, I think with like TikTok and short form video and all that stuff, I'm finding myself just like really like watching what's working, like going on TikTok and seeing what videos are going viral and being like, okay, that video, they had the title at the very beginning and then the captions, or they were doing this while they were doing the video. Like, why did that take off the way it did? I don't know. That was kind of a long-winded answer.
No, it's good. And also I feel like you just gave listeners like the excuse to go binge. It's like, yeah, go watch a bunch of TikToks, but do it strategically.
I'm like, I've been watching TikToks like 6 hours a day. Just kidding.
Right. Don't leave the bed. It's fine.
But I'm working really hard. And
Dude, of course. Well, ChatGPT is for you, but that's fine.
Then I put in the ChatGPT. I'm like, why did this do well? Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So that's interesting. Yeah, I do remember those days when graphic design was like the thing. And I think it's really hard to keep up. Curious about something that you find yourself like telling agents frequently to do, maybe like advice that you give them, but you find that advice hard to follow yourself.
Oh, so everything. That's such a good question though. So much. So a few things. First of all, I feel like YouTube is a really big opportunity for everyone and for real estate agents, because it's like basically you're getting kind of real estate on Google. So it's great, but it's so hard. Long form video. At the beginning of this year, I was like, I declared to everyone that I was going to make YouTube videos, and then I didn't make a single video. I like keep trying, and I'm like, I can't. So
it's really hard.
Yeah, YouTube, like long form content. That's what I tell them, but then I don't do. Another thing is I feel like engagement is really important on social media. So like taking the time to just genuinely interact with people, like how you're supposed, like what social media is for. I feel like I kind of struggle with that, doing that intentionally. And definitely showing up and like, I actually really struggle with like personal branding. That's all I do is tell agents to build their personal brand. And then like, I don't do that for myself really. I mean, maybe I do like without even realizing it, but like, I mean, obviously we all have a personal brand. It's just like what people think of when they think of you. But I always like kind of showing up on stories and like showing people behind the scenes of your life and stuff. I always tell agents, don't worry about what other people think. And, you know, like, who cares? It's your business. It's free marketing. And then when it comes to me, I'm like, no, not me.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Curious though. So like, okay, first of all, I'm so with you on YouTube. I went through, I think this was back in 2022. I was like, I'm going to post a YouTube video every single week for all of 2022. I went to FinCon. Do you know what FinCon is?
It sounds familiar.
It's where money and media meet, but it's like really big on digital creation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I'm actually going this year if you want to go.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, so I went up to this really big YouTuber, who Tim Schmoyer, I think his name is. But anyway, like really big. And I was like, dude, mark my words, I'm going to do one YouTube video for all of 2022. And he like patted me on the head. He was like, sure. And I'm like, no, I'm the type of girl who does what I say I'm going to do. Dude, I made it like 8 weeks.
Well, 8 weeks though. That's good. I've made it 0. It's hard. It's I think what I've been thinking about this a lot, and I really like to create like carousel posts or like a blog post or even like a reel. And I've realized, and I think this is what it is, but bear with me. When I create one of those, it's like I have it all right in front of me and I can like digest it and easily like pick apart everything that I've said, and I can look at it all at once and be like, all right, it looks good. It's good to go. With like a YouTube video, it's so, I feel like I can't like look at it all at once. Like it's just so long and I'm like, I feel like I've messed up somewhere in there. This is stupid. Nobody cares about what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that piece of content, if that makes sense. I'm like, this is just, I probably rambled and it didn't make sense to anyone.
No, I think a lot of people resonate with that, what you just said.
But then you think about it like, I feel like
no, we're gonna say the same thing probably.
Yeah, like people like to listen to like this, a conversation or just like a stream of consciousness, or like it's a different kind of content that you're consuming, but like there's a purpose for it. Like people like to listen to that long form without having like just value pack over and over, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's actually not at all what I was going to say. No. So I was going to say, if you're in your head, you're dead. Oh, which is like one of my favorite freaking sayings.
I love that. Yeah. I've heard recently, never trust an indoors thought. So like go outside. If you're having a thought that's like bad or like you're like being mean to yourself, go outside. And then that's really nice. Okay, because continuing on this is now we're going real off-roading, but I heard this other one the other day that was never say yes in the moment. Ooh. And I thought, okay, and this depends on where you are in your personal journey, because I believe, when you're a new agent, you need to say yes to as many opportunities as possible, because those are experiences that are going to lay the foundation for understanding what you like, what you don't like. And you can't do that if you are not saying yes to opportunity. But then there comes a point in life where it like switches and it's like, okay, now and now it's time to focus and you need to stop saying yes. But a lot of people have trouble saying no. They're like, yes, people, because you want to make the other person happy. Yeah. So the rule is never say yes on the spot. And just say, hey, it's a personal rule. I just don't say yes on the spot, but I will let you know within 24 hours. And then you can go back and you can think, you can check your calendar, you can blame your team if you need to. And then you don't have those moments where you show up and you're like, why did I agree to this? It's 2 hours to go. I want to cancel. You know what I mean? I love that. I've also heard someone say like, would you want to do it tomorrow? If not, then like, don't agree to it.
Yeah, dude. And I still find myself. But anyway, okay, I want to go back to, you mentioned, you struggle with engaging, and you mentioned, what was the other one? Personal branding, showing up on stories. Do you think that is like similar to YouTube, where you're like overthinking it, or is it because you're too busy? What are
the personal branding is definitely like a overthinking personal obstacle. And I don't know. And I know so many people that like have been feel the same way that I feel with it too. I think like that one is mostly just like me getting in my own head, like that nobody cares, or like, why am I doing this? Or, and
Really, I care.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll do it then.
Thank you. Like everything you put out. Yes.
And the engagement thing, that's maybe a busy thing, but it's actually not. That's an excuse, because I will, like I just said, I do my TikTok research. I scroll. I'm guilty of it. One thing I've been trying to do this year is just spend my time on social media more intentionally. So, because a lot of times I'll get on like to check a message or something, and then you end up scrolling for, an hour, and it's like you just wasted so much time. I'd rather
and you didn't do the thing.
Yeah, either. You didn't do the thing. You didn't clear the inbox. So I feel like and it's annoying. Like I have a bunch of messages sitting there, and I'm like, and then I just am scrolling and not like doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so yeah, one of my goals this year is to like time block, like in my calendar, like respond to messages, respond to comments, or like interact, like engage with other accounts. It's hard because social media is so distracting.
So just, and literally we're also talking about how to pull in interest, hook people, keep them, like
other people are doing a great job.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm curious, what does your day look like? Besides the 6 hours on TikTok, and the occasional podcast with me.
It's all TikTok. Just kidding.
Because you're running a whole ass business that you've been doing for years, and it's grown up. Like I've watched the growth, and it's very cool, by the way.
Thank you.
So what does like a day in the life of Haley look like?
A day in the life is I wake up. There I am. Just
Good
kidding.
Start. Yes, you did it.
I rise out of bed. That part, I guess that part's not really relevant, but whenever I get to work, sorry, don't want to knock the camera over. Basically what I'm working on right now is, and I feel like my day has changed. Like if you asked me this last year, it would have been different, but now I have someone who she's been working with me since the very beginning, pretty much. She's amazing. She is like the head of our members content now. So she handles like the creation of the members content. And then, so my day to day looks like website improvements and working with our like website development team on fixing the website, and making upgrades and stuff like that, and planning the future of that. It also looks like meeting with like partners. We have like certain partners who promote us and work with us, and contractors and vendors and stuff like that. And a lot of time working on content for our social media. And then like I've been working a lot on like building out a strong team. So I just hired someone else. And so it's a lot of like just kind of figuring out how to give them responsibilities, and then, let the hands off the wheel a little bit.
So it's interesting because you started with like creating graphics, and now it's like you're meeting with partners and contractors, you're building out a website. Like, are you happy with the transition of your role, or do you miss, I don't know.
It's definitely like, it's so funny that whenever like you start doing something that you love, and then once you like start making money from it, then it's like not as fun. Like I used to love like getting my hands dirty in Canva. And I still do, but it seems like I enjoy it the most when I'm doing it. Like sometimes I'll create like social media graphics for like a friend or something, like just for fun. And like, I love that. Like, I feel like that gets me excited now. Like it's kind of become work in some ways, but sometimes I'll have like I'll have like a strike of inspiration and want to. But yeah, I feel like the hardest part for me has been, I actually love like the website stuff. I think that was like part of why I created Coffee and Contracts too, is because I love the whole like aspect of like building a website. I don't know. I love that. So that's been fun, and like improving the user experience and stuff like that, and just like working on that. But when it comes to like managing people, that's definitely been the hardest part. It's not what I like signed up for, but I'm learning, and it's fun and it's rewarding and stuff. And especially like being able to build out a team with really cool people that you enjoy working with. But yeah, it's just hard to like, not even with the team, but sometimes with vendors you work with, or contractors or agencies that you work with, it's hard to like lay the hammer down for me sometimes.
Dude, yeah, people are tough.
Yeah.
And business is just tough in general. And I was asking that question, I mean, because although you're not a real estate agent, it's kind of like the same concept in a lot of ways of anyone who's starting their own business, where it's like you start out doing all the things, and you probably got into it for a specific reason. And then the goal usually is like growth, more, bigger, all of those things. But with growth comes that evolution of your position within the business too. And so it's just something that I think about sometimes, where it's like, sometimes we want to change the position that we're in, but maybe we don't. And I'm not saying this about you. I'm just saying like,
No, that's so true. I agree. Yeah. There's this book called Company of One. And I heard the interview with this guy that wrote the book, and he's talking about how, I think he's like a designer or something. And he like strategically is like a company of one. He like doesn't have a team, because he's like, his ideal day is like just to design when he wants to. And like, so he was like, I think maybe he like built a team and then was like, no, I'm just going to do it myself.
Totally. And sometimes you have to live it before you know.
Yeah.
Too. Okay, Haley, what is a habit that has significantly impacted your life?
Positively or negatively? I'm just kidding.
What I was going for positively, but this is your show. This is your world. I'm just living in it.
Okay. Therapy call. No, I'm just kidding.
ChatGPT. It's your therapist. Okay.
One habit that has significantly impacted, I think probably, I mean, I don't know if this is like this is kind of a small thing, but probably time blocking has been really big for me. I mean, that's just something that's been on my mind a lot recently, because I feel like at the end of last year, at the end of 2023, I was just feeling so burnt out. Like, there were just days where I would be sitting at my desk and would just want to go like crawl into my bed and just like hide. Like, I was just feeling beyond burnt out. And I realized that I was getting burnt out not because I was working too much, because I constantly felt myself like feeling very inspired to work and being like, oh no, I should stop because I'm working too much. But I realized that like, that's not really the problem. It's more that like, I wasn't actually getting done anything that I needed to be getting done. So every day I would start my day and be like, or every day I would finish my day and be like, I worked all day and I didn't even get done like these important things that I needed to. So I just feel like burnout was coming from like not spending my time intentionally. So when I started time blocking, I feel like that has helped me so much, because it forces me to focus on the things that I'm saying I'm going to focus on. Sometimes it's hard to, continue to do that. But like on days where I do it really well, I feel like I get so much more done than I was, even though it's hard to stick to sometimes. But that's been a big game changer.
Love that. Yes. I'm a big time blocking calendar girl myself.
I love that.
Okay. Before we move into wrap up questions, there's actually two little things I want to do first. The first is you brought an awesome tool for our toolbox. Would you like to share what that is?
Oh yeah. It's 30 content ideas. So pretty simple, to the point, just like some quick ideas. You know what? Hack, copy and paste them, put them into ChatGPT. You can get even more.
There it is. Okay, perfect. So listeners, go to realestaterockstarsnetwork.com and get Haley's 30 freaking days of content ideas for real estate agents. It is legit. And Haley, my last question before we go to wrap up is, what did we not cover that you think might be beneficial for our listeners?
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh,
Dude, I'm just hitting you with them today. I've got good one after good one.
What did we not cover? We didn't talk about email marketing really. That's something that comes up quite a bit. I always recommend to our members, like for an agent, it's hard to, have a full on email newsletter that you're working on every week because you're a full-time real estate agent. So I say create a monthly email newsletter where you're providing value, like local events that are coming up this month and like a housing market update. Like it could be a quick video that's like not just a bunch of numbers, but like, hey, here's me. Here's what the housing market's doing. This is what I'm seeing on the boot with my boots on the ground, and have a call to action. Like want to see what the market looks like in your neighborhood or whatever. Basically build out an email newsletter with like a ton of value that people actually care about, not just like a home maintenance checklist. And promote that like you would a product, like just constantly be promoting your email newsletter and sending that out. Honestly, I feel like as a resident of St. Pete, I would love for a real estate agent to send me a monthly email newsletter where I could see all the local events that are happening this month and see a little housing market update. So if you're in the St. Pete area, let me know so I can sign up.
Do the work for her. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wrap up question number 1. What is your favorite app or tool besides Canva?
Okay. Okay, there's an app that I'm obsessed with right now. It is not an app yet, but it's about to be an app. It's in beta mode. It's called Stylo.ai, Stilo.ai. And it's basically an AI powered journal that remembers everything that you've ever talked about with it. So it's incredible. I'm obsessed with it. When you log in, it has like these questions that it's like, hey, how's your goal of blank doing? And then it like has a conversation with you and then it remembers it. I can't. You got to go check it out.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone go check it out. Haley, what events are you going to in the next 12 months?
Okay. I'm working on, I actually was thinking about that today. I'm working on figuring out that answer, but I'm planning to go to more. All I know, well, I don't know yet. To be determined. We'll post on Instagram story.
Perfect. And I was also going to say you should come to Tom Ferry Summit. That's the one.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I went last year for the first time. It was amazing. Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind is also amazing, of course, but it is sold out for this year. So you'll have to catch us next year.
I'll be there next year.
There it is. But yeah, Tom Ferry, and lots of people are going. I'm like making a list of everyone who's going so I don't forget, so I can like track them all down.
Okay, add me to the list. Let's say that.
I will see you there. Okay, how can listeners help you in your business? Basically, like people have been listening and they're like, I want more of Haley. I want to be a part of her company. Hit us with that looks
with all the things. So
with the things, okay.
So I feel like I am hanging out on Instagram all the time. So you can hang out over there. It's at Coffee Contracts, and then if you want to sign up for our membership, it's coffeecontracts.com. Again, that domain name was already taken and they said it would be $5,000 to buy it. So
damn. And what if they sign up, like what is real quick, what value can they expect?
Yeah. So when you sign up, you get access to basically like a content vault with a ton of Canva templates. We have a ton of social media post templates, printables like marketing guides, flyers, checklists, presentations, Instagram stories. And then basically, so like when you log in, you have access to a dashboard with all of this. And we have a daily strategy where we give you like an Instagram story idea to help you build your personal brand, an engagement task to help you, grow your Instagram account, and then a daily insight, which is just like a quick tip to help you learn how to use Instagram to build your business. And then we have daily social media posts and a Facebook group. And you just got to check it out and then you can cancel if you don't like it.
Perfect. I love it. I'm sure they'll all love it. Okay, guys, you heard it. Go over Coffee Contracts, hang out with Haley and watch her stories, her YouTube channel that's coming soon. We're
coming soon. Don't hold your breath.
Haley, thank you so much for coming on the show and hanging out with me today. It has been super fun hanging with you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And listeners, real quick, in case you want to hang out with me and the owner of the show, we are The Shelby Show and Erin Amujistegi on the gram. And if you don't watch this on YouTube, this is on YouTube. And it's so fun because you get to see us and our freaking hand movements and, the little weird things that we do behind the scenes. You're missing out if you're not on YouTube. So go over there, subscribe, comment, all the things, call to actions, blah, blah, blah. Real estate rock stars. Thanks for listening.